An epic standoff between a devious criminal and the army sworn to bring him to justice results in a tale of treachery and cunning. And it all culminates at this lonely landmark. Situated in the southwest of Slovenia, the medieval enclave of Predjama is surrounded by dramatic mountains and dense forest. But standing out from the rugged terrain is a defiant stronghold clinging to the edge of a limestone cliff.
It's hidden from outside view. It's a true surprise as you come up the road to see it suddenly revealed before you.
This is Castle Predjama. Built in the 13th century, the 5-story fortress is constructed within a cavern more than 300 feet high. Inside, visitors can find a chapel and even a dungeon. But the Citadel's most impressive feature is that it's impregnable.
There's no way in, there's no way out, except straight up the rock face.
But as the tale of one past resident proves, not everything here is as it seems.
It's a story that has everything. A hot-headed knight, the possibility of magic, and an ending that has to be heard to be believed.
Emperor Frederick III is a just and tenacious ruler. But he has a problem. As the story goes, a headstrong knight named Erasmus Luger has just visited his court.
Erasmus Luger was freewheeling, insolent, with a mind of his own.
And during his stay, the rogue's notorious temper got the best of him.
He got into a quarrel with one of the marshals of the emperor. Swords were drawn, and the marshal was stabbed and died.
Emperor Frederick is incensed by this ignoble act. So he enlists the help of the brave commander of his forces, Kaspar Rauber.
He gives orders to Kaspar that he is to capture Erasmus and bring him before justice, dead or alive.
Kaspar and his army soon track Erasmus to his home at Predjama Castle. But knowing the fugitive's location is only half the battle.
They look up in horror. Inaccessible. Only a single drawbridge that gives access, and that easily defended.
It's clear they can't take the castle by force. But under strict orders from the Emperor, Kaspar and his soldiers know that failure is not an option.
They will have to starve Erasmus out.
The men set up camp, confident that the criminal supplies will run out before theirs do.
But summer slowly turns into autumn, and still Erasmus couldn't be forced out.
Then, as the biting cold of the Slovenian winter sets in, the soldiers' own food rations start to dwindle. But still, the murderer shows no signs of submission.
They must have been asking themselves, how on earth is Erasmus surviving in there? Surely their supplies must have given out by now.
Just as the soldiers grow convinced that the murderer may outlast them, a man arrives with a basket of food. He claims it's a token from none other than Erasmus.
They receive presents from Erasmus. He sends them down from the castle walls gifts of food.
It seems as if their target is mocking them with this fine cuisine. And the gifts don't stop there.
Spring starts slowly to arrive. He sends them fish from a brook, fresh cherries, fresh strawberries.
The men are baffled as to the secret source of his abundant food.
The soldiers begin to think that his castle must back onto paradise.
After almost a year of siege, Commander Kaspar realizes his plan to starve Erasmus out is a total failure. He must come up with a new strategy to capture the fugitive and bring him to justice. It's the year 1484 in Slovenia. To arrest a murderous knight named Erasmus, Army Commander Kaspar is laying siege to his castle. But his attempt to starve Erasmus into submission has mysteriously failed. Outraged, the commander must utilize another method to bring the fugitive to justice.
There is always one other way to break a siege, and that is through the treachery of somebody who is inside the castle.
Soon, they identify a possible turncoat.
Erasmus had been sending these gifts of food down by way of his personal servant. The commander got hold of him and said, "We will offer you riches if you will help us break the siege." He was offered so much that he broke.
Then Caspar inquires for a way past the thick castle walls.
The servant explains there is one part of the castle that is slightly weaker, and that is the privy that overhangs the cliff.
If the men fire their cannons toward the bathroom when Erasmus is inside, they will finally bring him down. The next day, Commander Caspar waits patiently for the servant to light a candle, signaling Erasmus is in place. Then, the moment he sees it, he unleashes the fury of his cannons.
The rocks come crashing down, catching Erasmus in the privy, and he dies a horrible death.
With Erasmus dead, the soldier's duty is finally done. But Caspar and his men are still mystified as to how the fugitive had maintained a fresh supply of food for a year. They scour Predjama for clues, and in the depths of the castle, they find the answer. An underground labyrinth of tunnels and caves provides an escape route.
A man can climb up and emerge in the fresh air in the next valley over.
From there, Erasmus could easily gather food without the army ever noticing. Today, Predjama Castle is a looming monument to a murderous knight and the quest for justice that finally brought him down.